I can't believe it. College football is almost over. We're going into week 12. In fact, we are in week 12. All the MAC teams are playing on Tuesday nights. I'm going to talk about the college football season, or what's left of it. Some breaking news out of Michigan concerning Jim Harbaugh and the suspension, which is just weird. I'm going to get into that and more. Hey, I'm Brian. Thanks for joining me on Clemson Football Live. You know, on Clemson Football Live, we talk about Clemson football, but we also talk about college football. I hope you subscribe. It's free. It's a great way to support the channel, and I do appreciate it. I have my Merry Christmas, you filthy animal shirt on. It's getting close to that time, folks. It is getting close to that time. It'll be Thanksgiving next week. It's crazy. All the big rivalries are coming up. Clemson has North Carolina coming up this weekend. I did a video on it yesterday. You ought to check it out, where I break down North Carolina. I break down who they are, what they've done up to this point. I break down our Tigers' chances. And yeah, you ought to check out that video. But I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, but I'm going to talk about the rest of the teams that are playing and just kind of dive around. What am I saying here? I think I've lost my mind. I've officially lost my mind. I am going to break down some college football games. But right before, I'll start off with this. Right before I started this video, I was pulling it together. I was going to talk about week 12 college football. And my phone buzzes. And it's breaking news, ESPN. Jim Harbaugh is going to accept the 3-game suspension, and the Big Ten is ending their probe. Folks, to quote Barney Fife, in our lifetimes, no. I know that everyone has a different opinion on things. I have people who faithfully watches me all the time, and you show up just to tell me that you disagree with me, and that's fine. It's kind of fine. But if you're a person who is more aware, like you pay attention to how certain situations shake out over time, whether it may be something as innocent as a football team, maybe something as emotionally and touchy subject filled as politics. Time tells a lot. But what I am blown away with is people never learn. People don't learn. Nope, never learn. Never, ever flip and learn. And I could start bringing up subjects right now that I could slice this comment section and my channel in 50 different directions just by bringing up one topic. I could bring up one topic. And it would prove that people never learn. What does this have to do with Jim Harbaugh? Folks, this is his second suspension in one season. Now, I'm not telling you he's not guilty. But I am telling you something weird is going on, because just as soon as that first suspension was over, we go a couple of weeks, what do we hear about? This. The Big Ten delaying their decision last week until Michigan was what? At Penn State, at Happy Valley? Folks, this is weird. You may hate Jim Harbaugh, and you may be sitting there clapping. Some of you Buckeye fans are like, finally, just don't bring up Jim Tressel and all of that. I had to say that. But the point here is something's weird. Something really weird is going on. I'm sorry. Something is beyond weird going on here, and it is not okay. If this is such a big deal, a 3-game suspension is nothing. Second, if it's not a big deal, why has this been handled the way that it is? I'm sorry. I'm not a Michigan fan. I am just telling you point blank, something's weird here. And just be very, very careful what you're willing to accept when it comes to a team you don't like and you don't like about their coach, because it's just like in a football game. I've taught my sons this. In a football game, we need to be very careful about when calls go our way. If it's a suspect call, if it's a call that you're sitting there going, oh no, ooh, yeah, I know that works in our favor, but well, we'll take it. You know, you got that guy over there, he's half drunk. We'll take it. I'm just about time something goes our way. And then in the fourth quarter, the same sketch call is called, but this time it's against your team. Be very careful with the measure that you meet, because it might come back to you, my friend. And that's all I'm going to say about Jim Harbaugh. I talked there about Jim Harbaugh much more than I wanted to. I'm just telling you, this is weird. This is odd. I don't like it, because it reeks of it. It does reek that someone is doing some wrongdoing, and I can't say that it's completely all Jim Harbaugh. I'll leave it there. But time will tell. Time will tell. Let's get into the schedule for college football tonight. Thursday, November the 16th, Boston College and Pittsburgh plays at Pittsburgh, 7 o'clock Eastern or ESPN. That's not really a big game. Tomorrow night, the only game that maybe you want to pay attention to, Colorado at Washington State, kicks off 10:30 ES. Not ES. I'm thinking about Eastern Standard Time. I have clients in different time zones, and folks, I just see EST. I'm so sorry for saying that. Y'all, I've had a long day. You probably have too. You know how it is. Colorado at Washington State tonight, 10:30 Eastern Time. It will be on Fox Sports 1, FS1. Colorado started off being shoved down our throats. What I knew would happen, happened. Washington State started off really strong, and then, man, it doesn't look good. So that could be a good game tomorrow night to check out. Well, let's get into Saturday. Michigan at Maryland. Now, what's interesting about Michigan playing the rest of their schedule, we know they have that meeting with Ohio State. Okay? They have the meeting with Ohio State. We know that big, massive game is coming up. But but Maryland is next up. And it's just really interesting to me. I mean, here's Michigan. Here's Michigan going to Maryland. They're basically a 20-point favorite. Maryland is 6-4, 3-4 in the conference. Of course, Michigan is 10-0, 7-0 in the conference. Knowing that they have Ohio State next week, knowing that their coach is not, at least the kids know. I don't like to call them kids. They're not kids. They're guys. They're boys. You could call them boys to a point, but guys, we could say guys. These guys, they know that their coach is not going to be with them. They know that. They know it's not going to happen. And at least they now know that next week when they play they play Ohio State, and that it will be in the big house, at least they know that their coach is not going to be with them. Michigan will win this game against Maryland, or else something is terribly wrong. Moving on. I've talked about Michigan a lot. I'm going to get complaints for that. Coastal Carolina goes to Army this weekend. You say, why do I bring that up? Well, I'm in the state of South Carolina. I was actually at the Army at Coastal Carolina game last year. It was the very first sellout in the history of the Chanticleers program. And that was a fun game. This time, Coastal Carolina goes up to Army, 12 o'clock Saturday on the CBS Sports Network. The Chants haven't lost a game in a while. They started off really sluggish. And they've won several games in a row. Moving on, a big game it has the ACC championship really comes down to this game. The Louisville Cardinal travels down to Miami, 12 o'clock ABC on Saturday. We know what Louisville's done. We know what Miami's done. Okay. Louisville has not looked as dominant recently as they have looked. Now, they're in the top 10, and they only have this game and another one against Kentucky left. You can't help but just like what's going on at Louisville. And it just, once again, they're 9-1. It just, once again, reinforces what I say all the time. Coaching matters. A lot of people hates to hear that. A lot of people turns red in the face. A lot of people, when I talk about certain coaches being hired within Clemson's organization, that's one of the reasons that we have seen the lack of development. Man, I have Clemson fans, and I'm one of the big Clemson fans. And what I mean by I'm one of the big Clemson fans, I love my Tigers. I'm just realistic about them. I am realistic about it. I'm a big Clemson fan is what I'm trying to say. I'm a huge Clemson fan. But the problem is, me, I unfortunately look at the truth. I'm the type of person that if you're a family member of mine and you walk up to me and you go, hey, listen, I know that you will tell me the truth because you love me. Okay. Yes. I went and did fill in the blank. Was that a dumb move? I would look at you and say, I love you with all of my heart, but you're smarter than that. I can't believe you said that. If I really love you, if I really care about you, I don't go out of my way to stone you. But for the love of anything sacred, I don't lie to you. I don't hope for the best, man. You want to fix a problem, you have to identify it and then create a realistic solution. Coaching matters. Louisville knows that firsthand because they're 9-1. Now, Miami's only a 1-point favorite. It's only a 1-point favorite. Miami started off nice and strong. They're 2-4 in the conference. They're 6-4 overall. Clemson 6-4. They're 6-4. Clemson should be embarrassed to have lost to this team. But that's another story. Goes back to coaching. The Miami Cardinals needs to focus on this game and not Kentucky next week. You win this game, it's you and Florida State in the ACC championship, period. What a game. Next up. Here's a game that doesn't seem that important because the one of the teams is fantastic. The other team is useless. UMass at Liberty. UMass is one of the worst football teams I think in college football. Liberty, on the other hand, first-year coach Jamie Chadwell, former Coastal Carolina coach. He was making $1 million per year down at Coastal Carolina, something like that. Liberty calls him up and says, hey, we'll pay you what, $3 or $4 million per year if you'll come up here and just take over the team that Hugh Freeze had. They're undefeated, guys. Jamie Chadwell in the next few years is probably going to be at a big job, and he should be. The only question with Jamie Chadwell is, will he hire a top-notch defensive coordinator? Because that was his undermining the past few years at Coastal Carolina. That's what undermined their season last year, especially. But Jamie Chadwell, he's a big name. It's a big deal. Let's move on. This is a West Coast game. In fact, I have a friend of mine. He lives in Tucson, Arizona. And he graduated the University of Arizona. And all he would really talk about is basketball, obviously, because there's nothing else to talk about for the University of Arizona. Football, they in the 90s, they just tried to keep telling us, and especially in the early to mid 90s, if I have anyone in here who's my age, I'm 41, you remember that during that time, Sports Illustrated just kept slapping the University of Arizona on the front of Sports Illustrated and telling us how great Arizona, and they laid a golden turd over and over. But Arizona has actually played really good football this year. And Utah is coming to town. I told him about it, and I said, here's a site to find some tickets that are affordable. And he's going to the game. I know I'm out evangelizing for college football. I'm doing what I can for college football. That's a very interesting game. Right now, Arizona is only a 1-point favorite. Utah is 7-3, 4-3 in the conference. Arizona is 7-3, 5-2 in the conference. There's rumors that Cam Rising, if he can get the medical red shirt, if he hasn't already, he will transfer out of Utah. I don't know if that's true. We will see. Just want to say a couple of quick hellos. Midland's directory. I can't speak. Y'all, I'm telling you, I started this video and I totally went blank. I go back and listen to my videos too, just to try to make things better. And I'm going to cringe at this video. I will promise you that. Midland's directory. He is a member. Hey, listen, if you want to join on a monthly basis, there's a join button below the video. If you're on an Apple product, you might not see it. It is so flipping cheap that you could join like 4 or 5 times and still not miss it. So Midland's directory is there. My old friend Parker Henderson is in here. He is a member as well. They can tell you how cheap it is, and it goes to a great cause, this channel. So thank y'all for supporting the channel. Also mention my sponsors, 4-Putt Carts, or one of my sponsors, 4puttcarts.com. 4puttcarts.com. Let's talk about them. First of all, you go to that website. It's beautiful. Second of all, the service they offer, it makes their website look bad, and their website looks great. Why? If you have a special event, you need to get them out there. I went to a wedding a few years ago, and they had a cart service come out to the wedding and handle their beverages, just their beverages. It was a hit. And 4puttcarts.com is way better than them. No offense. I didn't name anybody's name. You need to get them out there. If you're a golf course, you need to get them out there. You need good publicity, right? I mean, let's be honest. Golf is a snarky sport. Do you really want all these bunch of snarky guys going around saying some bad things about your golf course? No, you don't. So get 4-Putt Carts out there. Also, the Sawmill Shop, a friend of mine, just talking about his shop. You need to check them out. I've been giving away some of these. It's been a few. I've got to do that. But the Sawmill Shop, but one of my family members went on there. I was like, hey, I went online to buy that cutout. Their shop's really nice. I was like, I told you. Check them out and let them know that you heard about them from me. So let's keep going. Now, Georgia plays at Tennessee this weekend. And Tennessee fans, I don't, first of all, I don't have a problem with Tennessee. I think the Knoxville area is beautiful, especially you get closer to the Smoky Mountains. It's a beautiful area. My brother-in-law, a good friend of mine, he graduated the University of Tennessee. I have Sports Talk Jay on here. I have a lot of people I know. I go to church with a guy who goes to every Tennessee game. And when I say every game, it's not like, oh, he goes to all the home games. No, he literally went to every game last year. He goes to all the games. He loves it. He travels. He does the whole thing. But you had people preseason talking about Joe Milton just because he played one good game, and it was against who? Unfortunately, Clemson. And I told them, I said, listen, I'm not being bitter because the guy beat us. I am being, I know this. Oh, God, people hate to hear me say this. I'm being realistic, like the same reason that Clemson fans gets mad at me. I'm telling you the truth. This guy has only had one good game against one good team in his entire collegiate career, counting at Michigan and Tennessee, and it was against Clemson. And suddenly you want to act like he's had some type of transformation. You are going to be let down. What happened? No offense, Joe Milton. I'm not coming after him personally. And if I was a family member, I'd be mad at me right now. Don't you talk about my baby like that. Oh, I get that. We're talking football here. The guy doesn't. The guy he could fall. He could. It would be 3rd down and 1, and he'd go rolling out to the right. 3rd down and 2. 3rd down and 2. He would go rolling out to the right, throw the ball out of bounds. You go, that's some straw man argument. He did against Texas A&M, didn't he? a guy who's been in college football for 6 years, Georgia's going to beat them. Georgia is going to beat them. My only one critique of Heupel, also, you got to get a world-class defensive coordinator up there, pal. A lot of these offensive-minded head coaches, they get tunnel vision. They believe that their scheme is so good that they can outscore other teams. But their defense is trash. Example, Ole Miss. Example, Tennessee this year. And Tennessee's not doing Nico, their 5-star freshman phenom who's just sitting on the bench. They're not doing him any favors by not putting him out there just a little bit to get some experience under his belt. Well, I won't get him hurt. You'll get him hurt next year because next year will basically be his freshman season. Ask Cade Klubnik how that worked out. Georgia's going to beat them. It's 3:30 CBS. Talked about Clemson and North Carolina this coming Saturday, 3:30. You can check out my prediction video for what I talked about that game, but I'm going to tell you this. Clemson has the number 6 ranked defense in the country. North Carolina is the number 3. They're ranked 3rd in total offense. Clemson hasn't played an offense like theirs, and North Carolina hasn't played a defense like Clemson. On the other side of things, Clemson's ranked 48th in offense. Now, Clemson seems to be getting, God, please help us, seems to be, I don't even want to say it. I feel like I'm going to jinx it. Some rhythm. Simplifying the blocking scheme and feeding Maffa. And I just knew they were going to just go completely back to Shipley this past week, but thank goodness they didn't. Maffa and Shipley did their thing. Cade didn't have a bad game. North Carolina's defense ranked number 79. Go look at their schedule and see how many points they have given up against just mediocre teams. Remember, Virginia beat them. Remember, Georgia Tech beat them. A Riley, Leonard, less Duke team just took them to a double overtime and put up 45 on them. This is not going to be an easy game, and I'm telling you, playing in the Valley, this is definitely going to play into Clemson's favor. But if you want my official prediction, go watch the video. Yes, I'm doing that. Yes, I'm doing it. Interesting game, 3:30 on Saturday, NBC. Wake Forest and Notre Dame gets together up in South Bend. Sam Hartman gets to play against the team that he left. And that will be an interesting game. I fully expect Notre Dame to beat their brains in. Wake Forest is just, this is one of those years Wake Forest is just not good. Dave Clawson, he does this all the time. He'll have a few years it's really good. And because Wake Forest is Wake Forest, they have like a really down year, and then they'll come back, and the next few years will be solid. This is one of those down years. Another interesting game. UCLA being undefeated, or not undefeated, unranked is one thing. Southern Cal being unranked at this point is what's really weird. UCLA at Southern Cal. It's 3:30 ABC this Saturday. What a really weird game. Chip Kelly can't get anything going at UCLA. He does have Dante Moore. Now, I don't know if there's been an injury or whatever. You know, as soon as I say that, there'll be that one UCLA fan who happens to click on my channel and go, oh, you know, Dante Moore was killed last week. I shouldn't joke about that, but you know what I mean. Oh, my God. Got some people predicting the Clemson score in here. Maxwell Jameson said, I'm predicting Clemson wins 31-24. Parker Henderson says, the way Clemson's been playing, I think we will win by 2 scores. As long as we win at this point, I will just take it, folks. I'm not kidding. I would just take a win. If we can just get the win, go play South Carolina and beat South Carolina, at this point, I would just take it. It's really odd. UCLA and USC. So really odd what's going on there. Oregon and Arizona State plays in a very underwhelming game. If you've been watching the college football playoff prediction every Tuesday night, which, by the way, it's fun to watch, but let's be honest with ourselves. The only one that matters is the last one. And the only reason to watch the first few is just to see how the committee is judging teams. It can give you an idea of how they perceive other teams, right? What criteria they're using to judge as number one. One of these teams, number 6, Oregon, who's just sitting there. They're at Arizona State. Arizona State's not good. But does this not have an upset written all over it, especially in the pack? It does for me, but I still think Oregon wins the game. If you want to see a fun one, you want to see a really fun one, Kansas State and Kansas plays 7 o'clock on FS1. 7 o'clock. Now, Kansas State being a decent football team, of course, last year they made it to the Big 12 championship, and had they beat TCU, I think we would have saved ourselves from that terrible national championship game. But Kansas State is a solid football team. I think their coach is Kleiman. I think that's his name. Very talented coach. Lance Leopold, what he's done out there at Kansas. Now, that is something to erect a statue over. You know, Kansas is not an easy place to coach. And so anyone who can go out to Kansas and make them look good should be heralded as a football genius. Both teams are 7-3. The only difference is conference play. Kansas State, they're 5-2 in the conference. Kansas Jayhawks, they're 4-3 in conference. This game is at Kansas. Kansas State is still a 7.5-point favorite in that game. Missouri plays Florida this week. The game's at Missouri. It's a 7:30 game, ESPN. The question is Billy Napier going to be fired? His buyout is what, 31 million, somewhere in there, $31.6 million. That's a buyout for him. I did a video a couple of days ago that I talked about the coaches on the hot seat or potentially on the hot seat. And then I went into why coaches are hired in the first place. Like, I believe Billy Napier is a good football coach. I just don't think that it was the right time in his career to take this job. Too much too soon. Now, he's not a baby. It's not like he's a 30-year-old guy coaching college football. So maybe I'm wrong. But this job just doesn't feel right for him, and how it's turned out for Florida proves it. They play at Missouri, a team who is seemingly on fire. They're in the top 10. Missouri goes back to coaching matters. Their coach, I'm trying to figure him out. I really am. I can't figure him out. There's certain coaches, I look at them and I go, man, I just think they're a really good football coach. And I know somebody's going to come on here and go, well, the results speak for themselves. But there's some guys, they get a couple of good seasons and then they're just not that good. Overall. But I can't get a feel for this guy. I'm trying to figure him out. Didn't they fire Barry Odom to hire him? I think they did. I need to go look that up. Florida at Missouri. Missouri is 11.5-point favorite. When would you and I have thought, in just recently, that Missouri would be an 11.5-point favorite over the Florida Gators? It's laughable. We're getting to the end here. We're getting close, but stick with me. Have a few more games to talk about. Kentucky at South Carolina. Kentucky plays at South Carolina. Of course, next week, Kentucky plays Louisville. Kentucky did exactly what Kentucky always does. They start off winning, 3 or 4 ball games, and then suddenly the media, they do this every year, and so many people. I just wish that fans would become bold enough that the next time the media does this and say there's like a college game day or whatever at a particular school, and people starts talking about Kentucky, people just starts holding up, saying, or the media starts talking about Kentucky. The people around the area will start holding up signs going, would you please shut up? This is the same story, different year. Same story, different year. Maybe, just maybe, just maybe, Kirk Herbstreit would turn around, or maybe Desmond Howard would turn around and start taking up for themselves. And by the end of it, we'd find out where they wanted to have a wife and kids, and they did it. That will always live in infamy for me. Anyway, Kentucky at South Carolina. South Carolina has had a terrible season. And Spencer Rattler may be a Gamecock, but I have a lot of respect for him. He has been getting killed game after game. He was sacked 9 times, not in a season, in one game, in the very first game. That's a crazy game. It's 7:30 SEC Network on Saturday night. Then, of course, Clemson is at South Carolina next weekend. I don't know who will win that game. I lean towards Kentucky. Clemson's former quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei, Oregon State, they play Washington. Washington has to travel to Corvallis. It's a 7:30 game on ABC. Oregon's had a pretty good season. I mean, they really have. Oregon's had quite the season. No, did I say Oregon? I meant Washington. Washington has had, I mean, and they're going to go up here and they're going to play them. And Oregon State, I want you to know this. Oregon State is a 2.5-point favorite. A 2.5-point favorite. Now, Washington, they're 10-0. They're 7-0 in the conference. Michael Penix Jr. has put on a clinic this year of how to play football. Oregon State, they're 8-2, 5-2 in the conference, number 11 in the country. And what's interesting about them is the only bad loss that they have is Washington State, which at the time Washington State looked pretty good. They lost by 3 points to them. And then I don't know if half the team was incarcerated and now they're terrible. I don't know what happened. And then a couple of weeks ago, they lost by 3 points to Arizona. So Oregon State has lost 2 games by a total of 6 points combined. They just dropped a deuce on Stanford. The problem with Oregon State is they have to play Washington this week, and then next Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, they're playing at Oregon. So it's crazy. It's a crazy season for them. But Oregon State looks solid. Michael Penix Jr., 249 completions out of 366 attempts, 3,500 yards, 28 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That guy can sling the football. I mean, he can sling the football. Texas at Iowa State. Texas at Iowa State. What a weird game. That's one of those games you can kind of smell an upset there if you. There's a part of you that sees Texas going in and absolutely running them out of the stadium. And then there's a part of you that you see a 6-4, 5-2 in the conference. That's the thing. They're 5-2 in the conference. Iowa State team. Who the majority of their losses came at the very beginning of the season. But they've only had one loss since October the 7th. So there's some steam there. They have some momentum. And so Texas is going to Iowa State. Texas is only a 7-point favorite. I could see Texas going in there beating them by 20 to 30 points. I could see Iowa State ruining a chance for Texas to make a run to the college football playoff. And that's just one of those deals where you're sitting there. It's absolutely possible. It is absolutely possible. Now, for any of my upstate of South Carolinians, South Carolina, okay, it would be South Carolinians, but I told you, y'all, my mind's everywhere right now. For the people who are watching, and you're in the upstate of South Carolina, the Furman Paladins, yes, the FCS school. They've only had one loss all season. That was to the University of South Carolina in Columbia. Last year, they did a really good job. Lost in the FCS playoffs. They're playing their rival from Spartanburg, South Carolina. Better bring a bulletproof vest. They're playing at Spartanburg at Wofford College. The Furman Paladins, if they win that game, I think they're done with the season. And then they'll go on to college football playoff, or well, the FCS playoff. Sorry, but congrats to them, as they are. I mean, shoot, they're 20, 25 minutes from me. So, it's a beautiful campus. It's overpriced, but it's a beautiful campus. So, good luck to the Furman Paladins. So, folks, as I'm closing down this video, first of all, I hope you've subscribed. It's free. College football, I work with a lot of people on the West Coast. My company is based out of the West Coast. And when they hear me talk about college football, you can see they're amazed. I even had someone recently tell me they found it weird that us Southerners were just so crazy over college football. And I can see that because we are watching people right out of high school come in and play football for our favorite team. But then I got to thinking about college football. You have so much more of a relationship with your team. In the pros, they pick up and move their teams all the time. It's not like one day Clemson comes up and goes, you know what? We're sick and tired of being here in this beautiful land of the upstate of South Carolina with our lakes and mountains in the background. You know what we're going to do? We're going to pick up and we're going to move to fill in the blank. There's truly a relationship there with our teams. College football is coming to a close. I know we're going to have the bowl season. Very few of those bowls are going to mean anything unless your team is in it. Unfortunately, Clemson's bowl they go to this year, so even if they win out, is not going to be anything like we've been used to. But college football, it's just the best sport, period. It's the best atmosphere. It's the most fun to talk about. And before you know it, we will be waiting for the 2024 season to roll around. Folks, thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for hopping on and talking smack in the comments section. I will catch you later. I am going to try to do a pregame, a halftime show for the North Carolina Clemson game. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I can't tell you what event I'm going to, but I will not be able to do a post game for the Clemson, North Carolina right after it. I might be able to do it later on that night, but I have a family event going on, so I'm going to miss that. So anyway, you take care of yourself. As always, go Tigers.